All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started today with the first of two Meet the Candidate webinars for your 2018 Board of Directors. We have 6 candidates for 3 open positions. One candidate, Lauren Daniels, is an incumbent and able to run again. I am going to put everybody in, I'm going to mute everybody so we have no background noise. When it is your turn to talk, candidate will unmute your line at that time. And then at the end, we will leave time for questions. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat box and send it directly to me or to everyone. And then also at that time, we will open up the phone lines. So if you want to ask a question, you can do that too. So with that, we are going to start with our first candidate, Lauren Daniels. With that, Lauren, you are unmuted and able to start.
Okay. All right. Thank you for taking time to participate in this candidate webinar. One of the things I love about GPA is the way we support each other. And I am Lauren Daniels, GPC, and I am running for re-election to the board, and I'm here to ask for your vote. The primary role of a board member is oversight. It is important to understand that having all the policies, procedures, and governing documents in the world will not help if those responsible do not always practice them. That is why considered oversight is critical. A skill set I brought to the board was knowledge of the GPA and chapter bylaws because I served on both committees for several years. I have experience in financial oversight and in board governance. Those were critical skills I needed and used to help us move towards an engaged and transparent governing body. I promise that I will continue to apply needed oversight. Second, I believe in diversity. I serve on the Tri-Board Governance Task Force that has focused on developing intentional diversity from personal characteristics such as gender, race, or ethnicity to skill sets such as strategic implementation in order to increase our effectiveness as the recognized authority in the profession. One of my goals is to see our recommendations implemented so that we can reach out and attract emerging leaders. Finally, only 45% of our membership belong to or have access to a local chapter. Just 10% have a grant professional credential. That means we have to be creative and balanced in using our resources to support all our members. I am committed to implementing the strategic plan currently under development that ensures GPA meets its mission of supporting our community of grant professionals. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. Our next candidate who will be speaking is Laura Gore. Laura, go ahead.
Thanks, Barb. I'd like to serve on the GPA board because I love this profession that I wandered into about 12 years ago. I've been involved with GPA for all of those 12 years. Many of you know Bill Smith, who served on the GPA board. He took a risk and hired me as a brand new grant writer when I didn't feel like a grant professional at the time. And joining GPA was one of the first things that he had me do. Little did I know at the time I would eventually serve in chapter officer roles, take the GPC exam, volunteer for a GPCI board committee with fellow candidate Jonna Rogers, and then serve on a GPCI board for 8 years. Engaging with GPA, GPCI, and GPF has helped me grow into a true grant professional. And I want to serve on the GPA board now to help provide that opportunity to others. I think GPA is strong and on the right track, so I don't envision proposing sweeping changes, but I see value in focusing on providing high-quality, relevant professional education in terms of webinars and at the conferences, growing our membership and strengthening chapters, and collaborating with GPCI and GPF as we all work together toward a common goal. I've seen new members in the Tennessee chapter attend the national conference for the first time and say it's really energized them and broadened their skills worth the time and money. And I want our education offerings to continue to be at that level. I think strong local chapters can help people who are new to the field get the support they need early in their career Chapters help grant professionals at all levels overcome challenges, advance our careers, and support each other when one of us feels burned out in a field that can be overwhelming. I love the tagline of GPA, GPCI, and GPF, that together we are advancing the profession, certifying professionals, and funding professionalism. I also think it's important that we focus on marketing in terms of promoting the grants field as a career choice, reaching those who are already working as a grant professional but don't yet know about GPA, promoting the GPC exam, and equipping current members to be advocates for the profession. I would be honored to serve our professional community on the GPA board, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Our next candidate to speak is Bonnie Hauk. Bonnie, you are unmuted.
Yes, this is Bonnie Hauk, and I have been a GPA member since 2005. In that capacity, I have worked as member of the Ethics Committee on the original Code of Ethics when it was designed, serving on that committee for 6 years, 3 of which I was chair. I've been a member of the GPA Bylaws Committee since 2011. I also earned my GPC designation in 2008 and currently am serving as the GPCI president. I'm also the GPC Test Development and Administration Chair. When I was deciding why I wanted to serve on the GPA board, I realized that GPA exemplifies all aspects of what a professional organization should be for its members. This includes keeping abreast of the latest regulations at the national level, providing key and timely content at annual conferences, and conducting research such as those through the annual survey and benefit survey, salary and benefit survey. As the grant profession is becoming more and more recognized as a viable field and career, the need to have an ethical board leadership at the helm is imperative. I wish to continue the great work by those who have served or are currently serving to further and advance the organization. One of the ways I have been doing that currently is as a member of the Tri-Board Recognized Authority member. This board committee is wanting to advance not only the GPC, but the GPA and GPF as the tri-group that is the premier place to go for grant professionals. I look forward to serving you and ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Our next candidate is Cheryl Kester. Cheryl was unable to join us today for the call due to a prior professional obligation, but she did ask me to read this to you. So from Cheryl, dear GPA members, I am pleased to have been nominated by a fellow grants professional for a position on the GPA board. I am sorry that I cannot join you today due to a prior professional obligation. I attended my first GPA conference in 2004, and I joined the association soon after. And GPA has been my professional lifeline ever since. After a few years of learning this new profession of mine, I had finally found a group of people who understood me and what I did. More than that, they valued what I did and gave me tools to help me articulate the value to my organization and the nonprofit world at large. I have benefited from my GPA membership because I have found professional and personal growth and affirmation. My organization and subsequent clients benefited because I became more than a professional writer. I became a grants professional. To this day, I believe reaching out to proposal writers and grant managers, giving them a home where they are understood, and supporting them into full-fledged grants professionals is GPA's most important mission and greatest legacy. We do this well, and as a board member, my commitment will be to see that we continue supporting our members the best that we can. As our members' needs change and as technology changes, GPA must be creative and flexible enough to adopt new pathways of professional development. Grant Zone is a great example of a new resource for members that reaches out to all our members, even those who cannot attend the conference or have no access to a local chapter. My focus on the GPA successes is another way of saying that I am proud to be a GPA member and would be proud to represent my fellow GPA members on the board of directors. I am not standing for board membership because I have a particular agenda I want to accomplish. My agenda is to listen to GPA members and support the staff as they make the best use of limited resources to serve our members and the profession. I would like to hear a vote for board membership. Thank you. Our next candidate is Jenny Miller. Jenny, I believe you are already unmuted. Go ahead.
And my first development internship during graduate school at an off-Broadway theater. Hello?
Sorry, Jenny, can you start over? It wasn't coming through.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jenny Miller. I've been a grant writer since January 1999 when I began my first development internship during graduate school at an off-Broadway theater in New York City. While my background is in the arts, I've been working in the health and human services field since I moved to Arizona in 2011. I joined the GPA in December of that year and soon became involved in the local chapter, first as part of the membership committee, then on the board as treasurer, membership chair, and currently vice president. I decided to run for the national board as a way to enhance my involvement in the organization. While I'm interested in growing my personal and professional circles, I really want to join the board because I think that my experience has given me a unique perspective. Having worked in nonprofits with budgets ranging from $400,000 to $1.5 billion, I understand the unique challenges faced by organizations of various sizes. More importantly, however, I understand the challenges that grant writers who work in these organizations of various sizes face. I hadn't heard of the GPA until I moved to Arizona 6 years ago. Given that grants are such a niche area of fundraising, I've been excited to find a community that actually understands what I do for a living and gives me the opportunity to continue growing in this field that I've been a part of for nearly 20 years. Joining the GPA National Board gives me the chance to pay it forward and to give grant professionals at all stages of their career the ongoing support they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. And our final candidate to speak today is Jonna Rogers. Jonna, go ahead. You're unmuted now.
Good morning. I'm going to take a little different tangent here. I want to talk about Grant Pros. I am crazily, hugely convinced that there is this secretary sitting out there at her desk right this minute in a small town, and her boss, the sheriff, just walked up to her and handed her a grant. And she's sitting there, and she doesn't know what to do, and she's going to struggle through it. She's going to do the best she can. She's going to probably submit it, and she may even get it. And then what happens? Well, then the boss comes in again and says, you did so well, we're going to keep doing this thing called grants. And she's not alone. That's what happened to many of us. It's this tsunami that hit our laptop one day and said, you're suddenly a grant pro. And I know I'm being a little dramatic, but only a little, because I see that secretary every single week when I'm training. She works for city government, and sometimes it's a he, works for a fire department, a police department, a community college, and they're stuck. And I promise you, each and every one of those soon-to-be grant pros is just this lost soul who believes they are the only person in the world that this has happened to. They have an unsupported boss. They have a silo that they work in. They have no data for the needs statement. They don't even know they need a needs statement. They don't have partners, or maybe they have too many. But that's what GPA does. That's why we're here, both individually and collectively, and that's been my passion and my mission for nearly 2 decades. I believe that we have lost people, and we've got to go out and find them. We're overlooking them. And in fact, rather than ask for your vote, because I honestly think any of the 6 of us are going to do a great job for you, I will ask you to go out today and find this person. Find someone who needs you, and with big and small help, do something for them. Be their lifeline. Be their grant pro. I've been trying to do that for a long time. The GPA board helped me do that, but I'm going to keep doing it any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonna. So those are the end of our candidate speeches today. Now we're going to open the floor to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box. You can send it directly to me, Barb, so I can read privately, or I can unmute the lines, and you can also have an opportunity to ask your question to our candidate. So the lines are unmuted now, so if you do have a question, feel free. As people are all thinking, I do have one question here that has come over. It says, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing GPA today?
Barb, this is Lauren. I'll take a stab at it. I think it's kind of a difficult question because, and I knew it was coming, but I think that the board right now is in a really good place. I think we've become very more effective, and we're definitely more transparent. So I think that's a critical thing. But I think the biggest thing for me is something I alluded to in the balancing of resources for all memberships. We put a lot of resources into chapters, which is critical, and we need to do that. But again, we need to be able to also reach out in ways to all of those, most of our members who are not in chapters. And now we also have to face the issue of international members. And how do they have enough access to all of the things that John alluded to? How do we support them? And then how do they're teaching us things that we don't know anything about. They have different experiences in their countries. So I think the thing for us as we move forward is really handling that balancing act of using limited resources so that the chapters get all that they need, but those that are not in chapters also are not left out. And that's my response.
Hi, this is Jonna. I'll jump in. And thank you, Lauren. That was a great lead-in. Balancing resources is indeed critical. There is only finite funding that comes through GPA, so we need to be careful with that. But I also think we haven't tapped technology well enough. One of the things that we've been working on with chapters is how to help chapters hold their meetings electronically. And we've all had bad tech meetings. We've all had good tech meetings. So how do we help them do that? I know that the board is hoping this year, and through Shelley and her team there with the chapters with the regional reps, is working to maybe have a session on that, so that chapter leaders who can then learn how to do it seamlessly. You know, there's a reason that Barb can do this webinar. There's a reason she can do it. She learns how to do it, and she does it a lot. Well, we can do that same thing with our chapters and do it effectively. For me to go to a chapter meeting in Kentucky, and I'm thankful to have a strong chapter, I have to drive 2.5 hours and a time change. And that's, you know, for me, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there unless professionally I can't. But we have to do something about that to make it more accessible. In fact, it's easier to go to a Nashville meeting than it is to go to a Kentucky meeting. So
come on over anytime.
About that. Go ahead.
Would anybody else like to direct that question?
Hey, Barb.
Yes.
Barb, this is Jonna. I just want to add one other thing. If you look at the GPA map, the entire area of Montana, Idaho, North, South Dakota, all of that doesn't have the presence it should, and neither does New York State. There's something wrong there. We got to fix that. So, okay, I'm quiet now.
So, Barb, this is Lauren again. I wanted to come back and also talk about that thing again that John brought up, the diversity. We do recognize that, and we just appointed somebody to Region 1 to help with that area, but that we need to attract those leaders that are not all just women. So we're at the end of this term, we only have one man on the board. So we really want to not only reach out to all those chapters and encourage them to evolve up into the board, but we want to make concerted efforts to go out and find those people, and in all of those areas that are not represented geographically.
Laura, Jenny, do either of you want to address that topic, or Bonnie?
Sure, this is Laura. You know, I echo Lauren and Jonna's comments on the value of outreach and reaching new members. I'd love to go to Wyoming for 6 months and make that happen. But another point that I'd like to bring up as a challenge is the topic of ethics and ethical professional behavior in terms of grants. I know all of us have faced ethical challenges, whether we were trying to decide what to do or we were trying to guide colleagues or clients in making ethical choices. I think that's a very common challenge that we all face. And I know from attending a couple of the ethics-focused sessions at previous national conferences, those sessions could have gone on for 2 or 3 hours because everybody has a story of situations that we have faced. And I think there's value in us struggling together with those questions and knowing that we have a large group of grant professionals that we can call on to run situations by them, get advice, feel supported when we are potentially alone in taking an ethical stand on an issue. I know that can get old for someone who may be taking a stand on a regular basis against situations like that. And so I want to make sure that in addition to, you know, expecting our members to follow the code of ethics, that we really have deeper conversations about what that means so that we can all feel supported and encouraged to make the right choices in those situations.
Thank you, Laura. Anybody else want to address that question before we move on to the next one? All right, if not, the second question that has come over today says, what do you feel is GPA's most successful element? What is it that we do best?
I'll jump in on that one. This is Bonnie. I think that they do the conference is their most successful element. We always have a wide variety of choices for classes to take, workshops, a variety of presenters. They are for every skill level. There's networking opportunities. There's time for you to get together with your SIGs. There's time for you to work with people from your own state or chapter. Wonderful vendors. We have some pretty dynamic locations. I think this year is going to be really kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to the wine popping whatever, and just, you know, being in a good setting and enjoying friends, but yet learning at the same time. I also think that one of the most recently added things is Grant Zone. I feel like I've looked forward to that every day to see what people have posted and to be able to offer our wisdom to people who are new. And I think that that can be an excellent resource for some of us who do not have chapters. It can be a great way to connect with other people. So I think that we are doing a lot of things well, and I would look forward to helping move everything along.
Barb, this is Lauren. I guess can't stand that dead zone there, but that quiet zone. I think one of the things that we have to realize too is how we keep innovating and adding new things. From even the conferences have gotten better through the years, or not even better. They were always good, but I think we've added the grant zone, but we've also added the mentoring program, and that we feel is been launched. And we were concerned we wouldn't get even 10 mentors so we could get it going, but we did, like in just a week or two. So I think one of our strengths is innovation, and as we have the resources, that the boards, all the boards in the past and going forward, are willing to invest those resources in the Grant Zone platform, in mentoring programs, in all of the resources needed to put on a great conference, all of the resources needed to grow the chapters and strengthen chapters. So I think innovation and willing to take risks is also one of the strengths of our organization.
This is Jenny. I wanted to just build on what other people have already said in terms of building the community. Some of us work in areas where we're sort of siloed away from either other members of our department or other members of our organization, sitting at our desks, writing our grants, doing our research. But I think what Grant Zone, again, has done, it gives us a community, not Grant Zone, it's the conferences, chapter meetings, if you're lucky enough to have those, gives us that community to bounce ideas off each other, share challenges, ask questions, and get feedback from people all over the country. And I personally have found that really valuable in the time I've been a member.
Would anybody else like to address that question?
Hey, Barb, it's Donna again. Just a couple of quick things. I think what we do best is the connection of members to members in whatever format that is. Cheryl Kester, in her speech there that you read, called it a lifeline. And that is absolutely what GPA has done for me. And it's done it in a holistic way, just in acknowledging that this is a profession, that this really is, this isn't just these little mindless tasks that I'm supposed to know every in and out of. It is a profession. And secondly, to put me in touch with all of those professionals who help me at each stage. I've been doing this a long time. And every 4 or 5 years, it's like I feel like I've been reinvented. I'm doing something different, something new, and there are people, individuals and groups that I can go out to and say, hey, how did you do this? Hey, tell me more about this. And at every phase of my career, there's been another GPA who's already been there, already done it, and I can model their success. I can ask them questions. And so whether it's Grant Zone, chapter meetings, or plain old email because I met them at a state meeting, I have those connections. So I think it's bringing us together in whatever format so that we have that lifeline, as Cheryl said.
Anybody else like to speak? Or if there are any more questions, please put them in the chat box and send them to me privately if you wish, or let me know and I can unmute your line for you. So it does not look like we have any more questions. So I would like to thank our candidates for speaking today. Voting does open today. We are doing all voting online again this year. No voting will be done at the GPA annual conference for the second year. So if you do want to vote, you must vote online at this link that is showing on our screen right now. which is vote.associationvoting.com/GPA. To log in is your last name that we have a file here at GPA and your primary email address. This information will also be coming to you in our newsletter this afternoon, as well as in an individual email to each person with your specific login as well. So please get out there and vote. Again, you can vote for 3 individuals for the 2018 Board of Directors. Thank you.